Alright, welcome to my channel. This is Lock Chuck. What I am doing today, I had some requests from some fellow lock sporters and YouTubers to discuss the process of making this detainer picking tips. So the first thing we need to determine is what lock are we going after, because usually the tips are fairly specific to a certain lock. So in this case, I'm looking at the Abloy high profile or the Abloy profile. So what I have here is this is 4 examples of different keys that I have. There are many more of different profiles, but some of the things we have to be mindful of is, if you'll notice, just looking at these keys, you know, there is some type of notch on the inside for some type of profile that will match a profile disc on the lock. As you can even see here, see that one is kind of like a half circle shape, but that's the only profile for this one. But then when you start looking at like this little profile, you see there's many cuts. There's a deep cut there, there's a solid cut across, and going back to this one, that one's kind of similar to this one, is it's got one solid cut across and it's got one profile here, but also on the back there's profile. There's pictures you can find online of that profile extending all the way up the key. So you kind of have to know what lock, what profile are you specifically going after. So that's our first target. And to help show this, here is the bottom profile for that little notch right here. So since these are going to be most likely a rear tensioning lock, our tensioner is going to have to fit that last disc. And also, if you look on this lock, here's the profile at the back where it's going to be tensioned. It also has to fit it, because this key won't even fit it. And I don't have a key that is specifically for this lock. This is a lock I have that I don't have a working key from, but it's a good example of the different profiles. And again, here's the one that notch in the middle is required for. You see that little groove? So that fits that key, but it also prevents this key from passing. But this key will fit it, but it allows it to go all the way. Well, no, it doesn't. So this one, like this profile, is to right there, and that's it. So depending on where the profile disc is in the lock, like this is at the front, so that key has to have that profile, that little notch, all the way through the key. So that's some things you have to look at when you are considering where to put this. And if you'll notice, like this profile with that little notch on the back, so right now it is turned that way, but it could just as easily be on a different lock turned that way, because it has the gates in both positions. So you kind of have to know or plan on shaping your tips to fit whatever specific lock you have or a group of locks. So we'll kind of tackle that. So then we need to figure out, all right, so what are we going to make the tip out of, and what size does it need to be? So the first thing I kind of do is, this is more or less just a half circle. And what dimension am I looking for? So about 7.3 millimeters is about average amongst all of these keys. So 7.3. All right. So 7.3. So what I'll do now is I'll find the thinnest part. So 7.3, but so right there, that key is about 1 millimeter. So the thickness of that tensioner can only be around 1 millimeter for that style key. This one's probably allowed a little thicker, almost 2, but we got to go for the thinnest profile. So this one is about 1.5, and that's the same. So this is going to be our thinnest one here at about 1 1/4. So we need to work with that, 1 1/4. So we need something with about a diameter of 7.3, and it can only be about 1 millimeter thick. So a couple different options to think about, and availability of things. So this is a 6 millimeter stainless tube, and it has a thickness of just under 1 millimeter. Okay, so the inside diameter here may be actually, because if you think about it, it's 6 and then it's protruding 1, so it's actually won't work for this profile without thinning this out. So that's one thing. So then we have this is a 7 millimeter tube, I believe. Yep, 7 millimeter. It's very thin. It's 0.3 or 0.39 or 0.4 millimeters thick wall. But the question is, you have to also think about, what is our picking tip going to be? How is it going to operate? So if this is already the max thickness, let's see. So am I going to be able to get something larger that can slide over but not be too wide to feed in the keyway? So now you're looking at a picking tip that can only be about, well, 0.3 millimeters, and that's very thin. And I'll kind of see, this was one I attempted to make for a profile, but it's stainless, so it is very soft and very flexible. So this one didn't work because when you started applying the tension, it started deflecting and not moving the disc like it should. So stainless is not necessarily ideal. So one of the things that a lot of my tips I make out of, let's see. So the one that I did actually get a successful profile picking tip was out of an injector or ejector pin. So this was a 4 millimeter ejector pin that I used as a tensioner. I did shape it. As you can see, the profile matches. Let's see, where's the key? Matches this key. So if you look at those tips, that's what I based this one off. It was specifically for this profile, but it may not necessarily work for other profiles. It may, but without trying it, it would be hard. And this was one of my first ones, and it's kind of ugly to me. But the picking tip slides right over it, and I'm able to pick it. And this is made out of a roll pin, and I'll have some more examples of those. So this was just in a roll pin pack, and I cut it down with a Dremel. So first step is we got to get an idea and a game plan on how we're going to do that. So one way to do it is if you have the key, to kind of get it. That way you get a general idea of, you can measure your thicknesses of what you need to go for. Or, you know, if you can see down in the lock, just seeing what's in your way to get to the back. The other thing is you need to know how many discs are tensioning. So like on this one, I can use 2 discs to tension this one, but once I get to this one, I can only tension on the very back disc. So these are things you have to think about doing. So one of the other options are called ejector sleeves. These are some that I've got here, and I may, if I find one, so that one's 6.3. So there's one at 7, so that's a good candidate. 6.5, 7. Let's see. So let's pull that one out. Look at it. Let's see, what else do I have? So that one is 7.5. I'll tell you what. Let's take a couple different ones here. So 6.5. Let's take that one out too. Let's see. And what is this one? Okay, so that's 6.5. All right, so these are some. Where did that come from? Oh Lord, where did I knock that profile disc off of? Oh, that was my last disc. Okay, so, and the reason I say these are all possible options. So that one's an option. So we'll put these rest to the side for right now. So thinking about it, this one is 7.3. So the outer diameter is already almost to our max. So are we able to get a picking, make something to slide over that is thick enough to withstand the twistings? I don't think so. So I'm gonna kind of rule that one out. And let's see, did I have another one that was that thickness? So this one's 6.3. That one's 6.5. And that one's 5. Okay. So let's take an inside measurement here. So if that's 6 and thickness is 1, so that cuts us technically down to, I guess, an inside diameter. And if I measure this, where's the pin I pulled out? So this should be somewhere around a 5mm. Well, that's a 4mm. Yeah, because it's 1 off each side, so 6. So I'm down to 4mm. And let's see. It's actually big enough for that one, but I don't know if it's big enough. So it wouldn't be big enough for that profile there. All right, so we'll lay that one to the side for now. So this is the first step. So this is probably going to be a multi-step process. So we're looking for material and ideas first. So let's see. So this one was about 6.4, and it is 1mm thick. So that gives us about 5.4. And when I kind of just lay it up here as a comparison and just kind of see, so I think that's fairly close. It misses that pin. It's hard to really tell, so let me put it up this profile. Maybe that'll help us decide. And better yet, let's use this side. So hold it up there. It's close. It's very close. So it may just clear there. So this one's a very good candidate. And let's see what this one was. So 7.39. All right, 7.49. So it's a little bit thinner. It's a little bit tighter. See what the thickness of the wall is. About just over 1. So we'll put it up there. But as you can tell when I put it there, yeah, that's probably, it's close, but I think the other one gives us a little bit more room. So what I'm gonna say, is this one is going to be our candidate to make our rear tensioning out of. Let's see. So it's yep, I think it's just going to be big enough for this one to be our rear tensioner. Okay, so now we've got, all we've done so far is decided on a rear tensioner. So what are we going to do about making a picking tip? Well, like I said earlier, I've had good luck with this, which is a roll pin, and this is a roll pin. You can get them at your hardware stores in all different sizes. So I don't think right now it will fit, which is fine, but it is fairly thick and it's hard steel. So it is, so the outside diameter is 8.6. So we know it's way too big right now to be on the outside, because we need it to be, what, 7.3. So 7.3, and so we need to take about a 0.5 millimeter off each side, which would bring the thickness down to 1 millimeter thick. That's pretty good thickness for a picking tip. So, all right. So that's going to be my goal right now. So this will be part one, is selecting the material and availability. That's your other thing. If tubing is all you can get access to, that's all you can get access to. So, I mean, and cost. So I'm not sure. I want to say these are a few cents a piece, and this right here may be in a couple dollars for the whole setup. So, and I mean, as you can see, these are really cheap, and it did work. But I was able to make it for one profile. But then again, this tip, if I keep making the profiles out of this same size ejector pin, I just may have to have several different ones, but this ejector pin or this roll pin will work, should work on all of them. The only exception being is when you may have that profile that goes all the way up, but you may have to turn, go around it, and come back. But again, it's probably going to limit you on your picking rotation. So that's just some things to consider and to look at, and the different options. So these are probably available locally, but these I've had to get through websites on the internet. So those are kind of where we're going. And what I may do is I may do that, and then what I may do is start a new one. Maybe make me a little bit cleaner one for, say, this profile here. But this is very hard steel. It's a lot stronger than this stainless tubing. But all right, so I know that's real long, but this may have to be broke up into a multi-part video. So, all right, so that's where the thinking goes, and that's just kind of a thought process that you have to have about when you get ready to start making tips, and what you're going to have to do to get it tipped. One, finding all your dimensions, doing your research, and then finding the materials that you can access. All right, so I guess I'll make this part one, and then I'll probably start part two when I actually going to that one, I'm not going to use that, but whenever we start cutting these down. So all right, thanks for watching.